Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning show. It's a beautiful Friday out here. Take advantage of it while you can because the heat, boy, is it coming next week.
Yes.
You better be prepared. But no, we have a very special guest here in the studio, and this is Katie, and you are the naturalist at Lake Alma.
Yes.
So welcome. This is so fun, and I can't wait to talk about all things Lake Alma because there's so much that you all do there and so many things for people here locally to explore out there. So we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, we have a message, and we'll be back and talk all things Lake Alma with our good friend Katie here in just a second.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
All right, and we are back with Katie Robinson, and you are the naturalist at Lake Alma, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, first off, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been working for Parks and Watercraft for ODNR now for probably going on 5 years. I started out as a naturalist at Hocking Hills State Park actually for maybe 7 months, and then I finally moved on to Lake Alma State Park, which was great because it's much smaller, and I wanted to get a little bit more intimate with a smaller community. And I mean, of course, before that, I went to school to Hocking College for wildlife resources management.
Wonderful.
So I finished my associates there, and then I finished my undergrad. I got my bachelor's in wildlife conservation at the University of Rio Grande. If you guys are familiar with the Bob Evans Farm.
We are, very.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. So has this always been kind of your thing, nature and wildlife and all of that?
Yeah, I would, yes, I'd say so. Yeah, for a while there, I mean, I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do, growing up, but, I just always fell back on the time that I spent outside with my dad in metro parks, like birding. He would take me biking and birding.
Fun.
So I kind of, I really fell into that as a child, which I think that's where all of our seeds are planted, right, for nature. Right. We plant those seeds when we're children. But it just all kind of naturally fell into place. I mean, especially when I went to college for it, it just became more real,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're happy that you chose that.
Thank you.
And we're happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Going from Hocking to Lake Alma had to be a big difference. So there have to be multiple naturalists at Hocking, correct?
Yes.
In Hocking Hills?
There's about 3 or 4 usually.
Because there's a lot to oversee.
Thousands of people. Yeah, thousands of people, lots of really interesting geology. I'm glad that you brought that up because this is something that I've always said about the really awesome big state parks and even national parks. They make it a lot easier for naturalists to get people interested in those parks, right? Mm-hmm. So, people are already going there for the geology, for the formations, for the hikes and, the waterfalls and things like that. And that is all wonderful, and I loved spending time there. But it does make you work harder when you need to get people interested in smaller parks. And I liked that challenge. I liked kind of accepting that challenge.
That makes total sense. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. When you grow up here, and we talk about this all the time, we grow up with this in our backyard. All of the beauty that people travel across the country to come see at Hocking Hills and here locally and whatever, we grow up with it. We don't, I guess, appreciate it as much as we should.
Just take it for granted.
Yes.
I'm guilty of doing the same thing.
It's just, it's there and whatever, it's hills and I don't know. I got that in my backyard.
Right.
You know, I see deer. I have deer that walk up on my porch at my house, you know, like every day.
Yeah.
So it was so funny. And my first kind of taste of that was when I went to college in Columbus. I didn't realize that people had never seen cows and deer and corn and stuff like that before.
Right.
And then I got together in Hawking with some of my girlfriends from college one time. We went to the zip lining thing.
Yeah.
And we were up on the platform, and these deer, like a big buck, walked under us, and they were all like, and I'm like,
yeah, because you've seen it before.
like I have that in my backyard every day. So so it is interesting. But I just, my point to that is I hope that because we live here, we don't take it for granted that the natural beauty that other people travel far and wide to come see here. And I'm sure that you saw people when you were at Hawking from all over the world.
Yes.
Because you encounter people. I know last time I was hiking at Hawking, we had our dog with us, and we encountered this group of ladies that were, I think it was like a 50th birthday, and they were all on a girl trip, and they had traveled from, I mean, like out west somewhere.
Yeah.
And they were so disappointed. It was last year, and there was no waterfall. I think we were at Cedar Falls or somewhere.
Yeah, we have those ephemeral streams.
They were like,
where's
the waterfall? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, you guys picked a really bad time to come here because it was just a drought, you know. And but they had fun anyway, and they were just in awe of the beautiful formations and all that stuff. So, anywho, I digress. Other than we need to appreciate where we live,
right?
Because there's a whole lot of beauty right here, and it's not man-made.
Right, and you might be surprised at what you can learn more about something, more about deer, more about raccoons.
There you go.
You know.
Love that.
You know, even though we're, you know, it's really common to see them, you know, we like to say, you know, as naturalists, there's, you know, these things, it's not just something. If you see a robin out there in the grass, it's not just a robin, you know, and we have to be careful, especially when we talk to children that way too, or else it's going to be very common and not special, right?
Sure.
If a child says, oh, look at that bird over there, you know, and dad says, well, it's just a robin. You know, there's more to a robin. You know, they're really interesting birds. You know, it's like, what are they doing as far as their behavior?
Sure.
What are they eating?
Why is it sitting in the grass?
Why is it sitting in the grass? Yeah. So that's what I really try to instill in children and adults too. The adults are the worst about it too.
Yeah.
When they do come to the park. So
we have a hard time as adults stopping to smell the roses, pun intended.
Sure.
You know, we need to chill.
Yeah, we need to chill out. Yeah, absolutely. And just and slow down when you go outside, you know, and really try to take it all in and look into some things more. So that's the sense of wonder, right? We try to instill into adults.
Love that.
We have that as children growing up. It's innate in us when we're born. We're really interested in nature, and we have that sense of wonder, and then we grow out of it.
And then life gets in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
understandably.
Wrong. Yeah, but it's wrong. It's not cool.
Yeah.
No, I want to tell you, I rarely post things on social media, but last year, my husband and I were sitting outside, speaking of birds, and like we have a kind of a walkout basement situation, so we have these big, beautiful rocks like as steps leading down to the second part of our house, like down below. And we were sitting out there, and this bird... I'd never seen one before, and it was really, really big, and it was really pretty, but it was funny. It was doing funny things, and it was coming down the steps, just like. So I took a picture of it and posted it on my Facebook. Like, what is this guy? Because he's cracking me up. Yeah. And man, I mean, to your point though, people just like lost their minds posting about it. Like, hey, I think it's and it ended up being a thrasher of some. I think a thresher,
brown thrasher,
something like that.
Yeah, and they like to mimic other birds.
Okay.
too. Yeah.
So it was cracking me up. It
Yeah.
was doing the funniest stuff.
Sure,
And,
sure.
But yeah, it was so fun to engage. Just posting a picture of a bird on social media, it did my heart good that people were like looking it up and then
Right.
sending me
Right.
information about that bird and what they
Yes.
do and all that
Yes.
stuff. So I was like, this is great. It was
Yeah.
like my afternoon of reading like what
I love
people
that.
wrote about that bird.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
yeah, and he was there for a while, and I haven't seen him since. But anyway, so that sense of wonder, we can all harness it.
Sure. Yeah, we
Absolutely.
can all tap into it again.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we just have to think about it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk Lake Alma. And
Yes.
And I know, you go to the national parks and you're right. You have geysers and you have
Right.
mountains and you have all of this stuff. Well, a smaller park such as Lake Alma has just as, not as many, I guess, beautiful things, but beautiful things to make it unique to Lake Alma. So when you got there, what were your ideas as far as making people learn about Lake Alma and be interested in it?
Right.
Because it's gorgeous there.
It is. Yeah, it is really beautiful. We like to call it the hidden gem at work. It really is a hidden gem. I think it's just, when you go to a park, you do have to lean into, okay, well, what does this park have? Well, it's got a campground, and there's already quite a few campers there, which is great. We get a lot of park visitors and a lot of locals. So we're not a destination park, but we do get a lot of locals. I think leaning into the local history was huge for me because I do love history. I'm kind of a history nerd too.
Well, there's a lot of history about Lake Alma.
Yeah. And there's streams. There's 2 really nice streams. They have really cool macroinvertebrates and crayfish that you can find in there. And that's really great to take the kids through the creek because there's also salamander larvae in there as well. So all of these animals are indicator species for good water, for water that's not polluted.
Great.
So
That's a good sign.
it's a good sign. Yeah. I mean, and Lake Alma has so many other things. So we've got the island in the middle of the lake there that's got some history, and we have Little Raccoon Creek that flows just on the other side of the dam. We've got 4 trails. There's 3 trails that go into the woods. They are very hilly, though. I like to tell people
Okay.
they're difficult, but they're still really interesting because the Acorn Trail is my favorite. That's the best place to go if you're wanting to look at the wildflowers that pop up in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So
Where do you pick the trails up? Where do you
yeah,
start?
so that we're kind of working on that. Our trail system is a little outdated. This is like across all state parks. We're always trying to catch up. Sometimes the state can be a little slow in catching up with those things. But
it's our government at work,
It is.
It's fine.
Yeah, it is. But the trails do have trail markers. They've got signs. They're brown, so they do like to hide. Okay, they're brown.
signs
They're
are
painted brown, and they're
to
next to the
trees.
trees, so they blend in. But like the Acorn Trail, for instance, that's as you're just about to exit the park. It's the last parking lot to your left. There's a set of restrooms there, but the trailhead is right there. So
Okay.
you just got to look around. Yeah.
Gotta find it. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that you can find some of this on online places too,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, so if you are looking for a trail map for Lake Alma, before you get to the lake, you go to odnr.com, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and then you just type in the park that you're interested in. So just Lake Alma State Park into the search engine, and each park has their own web page.
Like special site.
Special site, yeah, that's got all the events for like all the nature programs coming up, as well as a PDF, link to our maps.
Okay. So you can check it out ahead of time.
Yes.
And honestly, Lake Alma State Park is not all that big that you can't
Right.
find something.
It is small, yeah. We're a small park.
So I know you do have some events coming up, and I definitely want to get to that.
Yeah.
But can we talk a little bit about the history
Absolutely.
that you have dug up? Because we were talking off the air about it. And
Yes.
you said that you're quite the history buff and that you've done a lot of research on the history of Lake Alma. And it's really fascinating.
It is really fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, I really love it. Because, I mean, I tried to really respect hearing what the locals have to say. You know, when I was researching, I went to the local library in Wellston, and I actually found something really interesting. So you have to ask for it, you know, at the library. You have to ask to see some of the historical records because they have kind of a special room for it.
Oh, okay.
You know, and so there's quite a few newspaper clippings and articles from the Telegram, which is fantastic because back in 1903, that's when they, you know, made a note about it in the paper that there is an amusement park that had opened up at Lake Alma in 1903. Which Charles Davis, C.K. Davis, he's the one that founded the lake.
Is it man-made lake?
It is man-made.
Okay.
It's man-made. He actually had the lake made, and it's a 60-acre lake.
With an island in the middle, which
With
is
an
super
island in the
cool.
middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was a wealthy coal operator in the area.
Okay.
In Wellston. And he even dabbled into cement making for a while, too. That was big in the early 1900s.
Okay.
And he actually had a factory just south of town of Wellston. It ended up burning down, but that's where they made cement at the time.
Interesting. I didn't know all this.
Right. And let me know if I need to slow down. I know I tend to jump around a little bit.
No, you're good.
So he makes this lake. He's a wealthy coal operator. Okay, so he oversees a lot of blue-collar workers.
Okay.
And, you know, there's still not a lot to do around here except to be outdoors, right? Still a small town, a growing town.
Sure.
And I think he just wanted to create a place where people can come and have fun. You know, and in the early 1900s, actually, in Ohio, a lot of little amusement parks started popping up. So I think he was going along
Okay.
with the trend.
Sure.
You know, he really was. So on the island, they established a casino/dance pavilion. So that was the largest structure they had on the island. It's not a very big island. It's about 8 acres. So this building would have looked like a pole barn to you and me.
Okay.
There was an amphitheater, so they had seating and a stage where people could play music and perform. They had bands. People would still fish and go swimming, and people would put their sailboats in the water. And I think Davis had a couple of boats as well that people could go out on. And finally, there was the merry-go-round. There was also a 4-lane bowling alley, which I wish the newspaper articles gave us a little more detail as to where it was located. You know, a lot of people ask me, well, where did they put this and that and this and that? Unfortunately, they didn't record that.
Really? Okay.
And, so the last thing was the chute, which was a water slide. And that was at the very back of the island.
I didn't know that
because it's a
either.
steep slope.
And wasn't there a Ferris wheel?
Okay, so yeah, a lot of people bring up the Ferris wheel, and I've done a lot of research on this as well. So in the early 1900s, they did not put a Ferris wheel on the island. So I went through some records at the library. There's actually someone took an interview with Davis's nephew because he and his wife never had any children.
Okay.
And someone asked him about the Ferris wheel, asked his nephew, and he said, well, you know, he always wanted to put a Ferris wheel on the island, but it never happened.
Oh.
So I suspect this Ferris wheel came in years later.
Gotcha.
So I hear
Okay.
from the old timers, they said, yeah, there used to be a Ferris wheel up there. No one's been able to tell me what decade yet, but I'd be really interested if somebody actually knows when the Ferris wheel was on the island, because I'm guessing maybe 40s and 50s. So sometime later, they still may have had little festivals or something on the island.
Does
But
anyone remember? Like, let us know.
yeah, please do. Yeah, let us know at the park.
I didn't know, like, the merry-go-round, the slide. I didn't know any of
Yeah.
that stuff. How fun.
Yeah.
And then wasn't there, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I dreamed it, wasn't there like a train that came in
Yes.
that
yes.
brought people in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is an old railroad bed just across from the dam. So the railroad tracks are not there anymore. But the railroad road or the train would come in and drop people off right there at the end of the bridge.
Okay.
And from what I was reading, I think all the way from Columbus, this train ride was only $1 in the early 1900s. And
Nice.
that may have been round trip too. But people did come over from all over Ohio to this amusement park. And so one thing that I did fail to mention, actually, I should say that Davis named the lake after his first wife, Alma. I can't leave her out.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that either.
Yes. Yeah, Alma Lucas.
Okay.
And thinking back to, I've spoken to the descendants of Alma Lucas, you know, because she had, you know, some siblings as well. So it was really interesting. He was showing me a, you know, family tree.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's so much more that I want to learn about. I mean, and before we had this information out there, but there was still just a little bit more to dig up, because I also learned from another local historian, as an older gentleman now. He's retired. He used to be a history teacher in Jackson, I think.
Talking about Bob Irvin?
I sure
Yeah,
am.
okay.
Yeah. He was really interesting to talk to.
Yes. He's it.
He's
our
it.
guy.
He is it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I learned that she also, I also learned that Charles Davis married later. I think Alma passed away at some point, and he did take a second wife. And actually, you can go to Davis's gravesite in Hamden. He is buried in Hamden because he
Okay.
lived in Hamden.
Gotcha.
And so what I'm trying to find out where Alma is buried, because I've also gone to Alice's house in MacArthur. They keep there's a couple of wonderful ladies in there that helped me out, and they have awesome records in there too. And I think
Great.
from what I was reading, I think she might be buried in Detroit, Michigan. So I need to look into that again. It just makes me wonder. It's like, well, what happened? A lot of people don't think
Yeah.
about that like I do. It's like, well, what happened? How did she end up in Detroit, Michigan? Why didn't they have any children? So I'm always trying to dig up a
Right.
little bit more.
Yeah.
But
For sure. If anybody knows, it's a mystery. It's like a mystery we need to solve.
it is. Yeah, and I love it. That's why I loved it starting out too, is that it was a mystery. I'm getting all this information from different sources, but there are some things that were more true than others, so.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's bits and pieces that people tell you, and you have to put all the facts
Right,
together.
right.
For sure. This is, okay, well, if anyone knows, let us know. This
Yeah.
is great. How fun. So what happened to the amusement park?
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought me back to that. So the amusement park opened in 1903, lasted until 1910. So there was really just a 7-year stint there.
Oh.
And it was abandoned in 1910. And we have strong suspicions that really it was because they did away with the rail car going to the park at that time.
Okay.
So I think they had changed the railroad routes there, and they just weren't getting as many people as they used to.
Sure.
So
Makes sense.
yeah.
So tell us so the island is still there.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's any remnants of any of the buildings or merry-go-round or any of that stuff there.
Right. So there's a couple of interesting things, and it is really grown over. Of course, there's more trees on the island than there were at the time. And if you do want to see some pictures of the island at the time, in our camp store, also known as the camp office, when it's open, you can go in there, and there's some really cool photos of the island.
Oh, okay. That would be really neat to see.
Right. So you can see that it still has quite a few trees, some really nice big shade trees, but on the other half of the island, they did do some maintenance at the time. I think they put down turf grass. So, it's not as crowded as it is today, but you will find in some of the trees, especially in the wintertime when the leaves are off, that there's some bits and pieces of metal that the trees have kind of grown up around.
Oh, okay.
And and we suspect that it came from the ferry that they had going across to the island, because we know that there was a ferry to the island, and I think that that's how they transported all the larger materials and the building materials for the bridge before there was a bridge.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you too. And
Yeah.
is there a bridge now
Yes.
to the island?
Yes.
I'm just trying to remember.
Yep, you can access the bridge and the island today.
And the island, you can actually, there's a trail or
Yep.
you can walk around?
Yep, you can walk around the island, and you can also walk to the very top of the island as well. And you could basically walk up to the top of the island and walk down where the chute used to be.
Really?
Where the slide was, yeah. So it's just a steep slope going up and then going back down.
Is it a tough trail to navigate or?
No, it's very easy to navigate. I mean, especially if you're going around the base of the island, so there is a bit of a climb if you want to get to the top. Of course, keep in mind, so not everybody wants to go to the top, but you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never been over like to the island part.
Oh, you'll have to now. You'll have to.
Ew.
So the other thing to look out for is so when you're crossing the bridge and you're facing the front of the island, there are two very square-looking, chiseled-out rocks. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the photographs, you'll notice that they also had steps. They had a bridge going to the island, but they had stairs that they built for people to climb to get to the top of the island. So those wooden stairs were built on top of the square stones.
Okay.
So there's a couple of little foundational, pieces there, but other than that, it's nature's just taken over.
Yeah.
So
No, I would love to go into the office and see those
Yeah.
pictures of. I've never seen them before.
yes,
It'd be really interesting.
yes. So we have a small staff at Lake Alma State Park. Our maintenance crew, they do a great job at keeping up with the mowing and the maintenance in the campground, and they open up the camp store. So they only open up that camp store on the weekends.
Okay.
So just bear that in mind for everybody listening. If you are interested in going in, Fridays and Saturdays are the best time to check out the camp store.
Fridays and Saturdays. Okay, so they say, Liv is telling me that they found some pictures of the island. Do you have them, Adrian? Oh, let's show
perfect.
those.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, so that, and I'm thinking that picture was probably taken on a postcard, because I've found those too. I'm sure that was on an old postcard at the time. And it says right there, the casino, Alma Lake, which is actually what they called it then. It wasn't Lake Alma, it was Alma Lake. There in Wellston, Ohio. So you can see a couple of gentlemen there
Interesting.
down below. So from what I read, the casino was downstairs, and I suspect the bowling alley was probably downstairs, all under one roof.
Okay.
And then upstairs was the dance pavilion.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. You have something else? Oh, that must be like the ferry.
Yeah. Yeah, or I think, and that might be one of Davis's boats.
Oh, okay.
I think, actually. So that was something else that he took people out on.
So that behind it though is the island.
Right.
And that's the big pavilion up there.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually a great picture.
Interesting.
Because you can see, so this would be kind of the south-ish facing slope of the island where the trees and the shrubs were kind of mostly cleared out. So they kept that more maintained. And then once you go to other pictures of the island, it was a little bit more shaded and tree-like on the northern half of the island.
Is that what you have? Is that all you have? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you
I'm
guys.
glad you
That was
brought
really
those up.
that was
Yeah.
really fun. Okay, well that brings us to all the fun things going on at Lake Alma. Obviously,
Yes.
you can hike. The bike trail goes all the way around to the lake, which
does.
is really cool. Mm-hmm. So you can just take that easy walk.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
how long would you say that is around the
I
island?
think that's
around the
just
lake?
under a mile
Okay.
around the island, I think. And it also connects to the bike path going into Wellston.
Yeah. So you can ride out there, you can
Yeah.
walk out there, go around, go back.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And, if you stay on the bike path and you don't want to get onto a trail, obviously it's paved and it's nice and flat and you don't have to, it's not that,
Right.
It's not hard.
It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very easy.
Okay, so you have some great things coming up. I know that you all have some boat rentals and things
Yes.
like that out there?
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got a boat house, and they do boat rentals. They have, I think, 2 electric pontoons.
Fun.
They have kayaks and stand-up paddle boards. And I think right now you can rent, a paddle board or a kayak for $15 an hour.
Okay.
So I definitely encourage you guys to go to the boathouse. But if you're wanting to go out on a watercraft program with me, that's all of my programs are free and open to the public. So if I do a watercraft program, we bring our own trailer and gear. So we provide, the watercraft gear and the life jackets and the paddles. So keep that in mind. I mean, if you're wanting to go out for a free day, and have a little extra
And a guided
to talk
tour.
about, a guided tour out onto the water, then I would definitely pay attention to the Lake Alma State Park Facebook page. So that's
Okay.
where we post all of our nature programs. It's on the event page.
We'll put the link, right, Liv? Yeah, we'll put the link to that on our comments.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, we've got a couple of signs at the campground too. I see a lot of people walking past them and they don't really stop to look. But I post my schedule there at the campground parking lot, and there's a sign right next to the nature center too.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
yeah.
And so one of the cool things that you all are doing are some movies, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about the movies at state parks is that, we've been doing it a long time. And the camp host, originally in the past, camp hosts can show movies on the weekends if they like. They're not obligated to do so. So, and you've got my post up there. That's great. So any movie that is scheduled at the park that I have scheduled, I will post just like that on Facebook and at the park. And, I'll be sure to put cancellations on the Facebook page if there's going to be rain or something like that. But I call it, a movie night naturalist's pick, because I do like to pick certain movies that have still a message behind it. There are so many great family-friendly, kid-friendly movies, animations, animated movies that they've made that have a great message about the environment
Sure.
or animals,
That makes sense.
or like a nature documentary.
Yeah.
So like this weekend I'll be showing Rango. That's about a lizard that finds himself, outside of his enclosure. He gets kind of lost in the desert, and now he has to kind of fit into this sort of like Western sort of town in the desert with all these other snakes and reptiles, and he's got to pretend like he's a little bigger than he actually is.
Oh, how cute.
So it was a great movie. And then the following weekend on June 28th is Charlotte's Web. That's one of my favorites.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, love that one.
yeah.
Very cool. So, and where are those free, I assume?
Yeah, and those are free to attend to. Yeah, absolutely. So the amphitheater is right next to the nature center, and that's all right next to the campground. So I think there's a misconception for some folks. They think that amphitheater is just for the campers, and it's not.
Sure.
If I am hosting a
that.
public program, people are welcome to show up to the amphitheater and watch.
Listen, this is a state park. Like, this is,
Yeah.
it's open to you.
Yes, use it.
Please.
Use it. Please do. I need more people out to my programs sometimes. So, yeah.
Now, is there still the swimming beach there? Can people swim?
Yep. There's a designated swimming beach. There's also a designated, we call it the second beach, which is where the boat ramp is. That's where people can put their boats in and out of the water. So that's separate from the swimming beach.
Yes.
And then finally, we do have a small little dog park. So there is a dog swimming area that's partially fenced in
Wait,
too.
stop.
Oh, yes. And there's little doggy
didn't know
poop
that-
bags there for you to use if you need to. So
I love that because we have a corgi, and she, for some reason, I don't know how those little legs swim, but by golly,
she likes getting in the water.
Loves
Yeah.
it. So, but it would be nice to have a place where it's enclosed so that she.
It is.
God, you get out to a park and God knows where they're going to go.
Right. It's not a big enclosure, but there is an enclosed area that kind of is fenced out and it faces the water. So you could put your dog behind the fence and they can go in and out of the water. And
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Love that. Okay. So we have the movies, and I know you do have some guided tours along the way.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll have, a tree hike or a wildflower hike. So like what I have coming up is this Saturday. So I'll have the Nature Center opened up from 3 to 5. And I have the Nature Center open from 3 to 5 on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And usually the reason why it's not open all day is because I usually have a program going on earlier in the day, right?
Okay,
So
sure.
I usually have a program going on elsewhere in the park earlier in the day, and then I open up the Nature Center later in the day. But this weekend, when I have the Nature Center opened up at 4 p.m., I'm going to get the box turtle out.
Okay.
So the box turtle, she's our program animal. So she's been grandfathered in with us to the park. So, which is great to get her out because, she is a wild box turtle. She can't go back into the wild anymore, so that's something we try to instill in park visitors is that they're not pets. She's not our pet. She's an employee of the park,
Sure, yeah.
And she helps me teach other people about box turtles and their behavior and why they shouldn't be taken out in the wild.
Yeah.
So,
Makes total sense.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, so you have, and again, this programming, I assume, is on your Facebook page.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can also find it, like I said, on the ODNR website. You can find the events, for all the state parks as well. Those will be
Sure.
posted online.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to tell our viewers while you're here?
I'm trying to think if I missed anything, really. I can tell you what's in the Nature Center a little
Okay.
bit. So we do have, an educator's permit for all of the specimens that we have in Nature Center. So I'm talking about, animal mounts and furs and skulls and feathers and things like that. So I have a screech owl mount in the Nature Center. There's a bobcat mount.
Okay.
I have, I've got different mammal furs and skulls, and I actually do have a program today at 2 p.m. Talking about
Well, come on
Ohio mammals. Yeah, so come to the
Fun.
Nature Center at 2 p.m. today if you want to learn more about these mammals and get to touch the furs and look at the skulls. And I keep fish in the Nature Center as well. So I am seasonal. So I'm there usually from April to the end of October. So the animals that I typically put in there are seasonal too. So bear in mind if you see a frog that I have in the Nature Center or a small snake or fish that we've gotten out of the lake, keep in mind they do get released.
Yeah, they go back.
They go back. They go home, except for our box turtle. So yeah, I've got some largemouth bass in the aquarium right now. There's also a warmouth sunfish, a green sunfish, a bluegill. So there's all that fun stuff there too.
Very cool. And you can see all of this. And again, it's all free.
Yeah, it's all free.
Just come
Free
out
the
to Lake
public.
Elma and check it out.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic there.
Yeah.
And, well, Katie, this has been so fun.
Yeah,
Thank you
it
for
has.
hanging with us today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me out. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank
And
you.
anytime you have any fun programs or anything coming up, please stop back by and let us know.
Great. Yeah, that's easy. That's so much better. And getting the word out this way. This is fantastic. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we do have one of our, what are they called? Street team members, thank you. It just left my brain. Sitting over in the wings. And then Jeremiah's here. He's going to do some news. So I'll tell you what, we have a couple of messages, and then we'll be right back.
From breaking news to heartwarming stories, the Telegram is your ticket to the latest buzz in town.
Read your daily dose of local headlines, sports, and entertainment and more, in hand and on paper.
Get a print and digital subscription for only $7.95 per month. Delivered fresh every Wednesday and Saturday.
Visit thetelegramnews.com or call 740-286-3023 today.
Don't just read the news, be a part of it.
Saturday, August 16th is Southern Rock Woodstock in the Gallipolis Fairgrounds. This event will feature 3 decades of original artists and legends, such as Leonard Skinner, 38 Special, and Molly Hatchet. In light of this event, Total Media will be giving away 4 VIP tickets. For a chance to win these exclusive passes, comment your favorite Southern Rock song, and our staff will vote on which one is the best. Good luck, and may the best man rock out.
All right, and we are back on this Friday with one of our street team members, and your name is, did you say Lily Bell? Mm-hmm. That is so fun. What a beautiful name. So welcome. We're so happy to have you here this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Lily Bell, and I'm part of the street team, obviously. I'm from Athens, but I am staying in Oak Hill currently, for the most part, to come down here.
Oh, well, very good. Now, are you in high school?
I just graduated.
Okay. So what do your future plans hold for you?
I'd like to stay in media production, for the most part. I went to school for it. It's something that I really, really love.
Okay. Very, very good. Well, you're in the right place for that. So tell us what you'll be doing this summer on the street team.
We are going out to different events and covering them, taking pictures, videos, creating highlight reels, creating content for social media, just overall outreach, talking to people, getting out there, getting our feet in the door.
Yeah, for sure. And what are some of the things that you look forward to the most?
I look forward to learning more and getting more experience, definitely, because that's going to help me in the future continue a career in media production.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Smart girl. Yeah, learn everything you can. We were talking to some of the members the other day, and it's like this technology changes so fast. It's hard to keep up with all of it.
Oh, yeah.
And the trends and all that. What are you seeing trends-wise, like on social media and stuff like that? So you're, like, how old are you?
17.
17. So what do 17-year-olds do on social media that 50-year-olds like me don't do? Like, or vice versa?
I'm really not sure. The social media that I spend time on, it's not like, I'm more so like, how can I explain this? I'm so sorry, I'm all over the place.
No, you're
It's
fine.
like, I don't spend a insane amount of time on a lot of social media.
Okay.
So it's, I'm not quite sure.
If you do, though, like what platforms do you use?
Pinterest.
Okay.
Pinterest is my favorite. I like Instagram too.
Okay. Instagram. Do you do Snapchat? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's still a thing. Sometimes.
I don't understand Snapchat because everything disappears and I'm too old to remember what the heck somebody sent me. I mean, is that not the truth?
I am the same way, but when I use Snapchat, I screenshot everything, so I remember it.
Oh, see, you're so smart. I would never thought to do that.
Yeah, so I have proof. So if someone's like, I didn't say that, I'm like, yeah, you did.
Aha. Smart girl, smart girl. Well, very good. So what do you look up on Pinterest? I'm a Pinterest fan, too. The only problem is once you get down the rabbit hole, you can't get out of it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I like looking at recipes. I like to bake a lot. I like hair dye. I like looking at different ways to dye your hair.
Okay.
Outfits, drawings.
Okay. Yeah, I
Just
always like
overall inspiration.
Yeah, I think so too. I look at it a lot for like decorate, like home decorating and stuff like that. I look at it a lot for that.
Or like DIY projects.
Yes, those are fun, aren't they?
Yes, I love them.
You can get into all kind of fun stuff doing that. So, well, very good. Well, we thank you for stopping by, and we hope that you have the best summer ever here being on the street team.
I bet I will.
I think
Thank
you will
so,
too.
so much for having me. It's been lovely.
Of course, anytime. Adrian, do we have another message? Okay, we have another message, and we'll be back.
Did you know Jackson is home to a locally owned and operated full-service print shop? Zip Printing covers all your print, signage, and design needs. From business cards, booklets, and posters to yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, oversized signage, and more. We can help you or your business advertise and look good doing it. Zip Printing also offers logo design. Allow us to assist you in building or elevating your brand today. Zip Printing is located in the Stockmeister Plaza at 708 East Main Street in Jackson, Ohio. So stop in or give us a call at 740-286-3023.
All right, and we are back with our good friend Jeremiah, who is here, and he's been here all morning already. So
I have. I'm a little on
He's a
the
little sleepy.
sleepy side. Got in about 5:30 this morning. Got an early start on the day.
I guess so.
Yeah, gotten several things done, and hopefully I can get some more done. I just trying to play catch up. A little behind.
Probably a little quieter here at 5:30 in the morning than it is now.
Nobody's here that early. Porterhouse and Matt come rolling in.
True.
Not too long after I got here to get their show on the radio there. But yeah, nice and quiet.
Yeah.
No interruptions. Nobody bothering me. So
There you go.
So that's
Easy
good.
way to get some work done.
yeah.
So what's going on?
Yeah, going to start off with a little weather thing here. The National Weather Service has issued a extreme heat watch for Jackson and Vinton Counties, Jen. It's going to get hot, okay? We got a little weather graphic here I stole from the National Weather Service about heat increasing this weekend into next. This watch starts at noon today, Friday, June 20th, and is expected to run through Wednesday evening, June 25th at 10 p.m. And meteorologists are reporting that dangerously hot conditions with heat index values up to 106 possible. As we know, heat-related illnesses increase significantly when we have these extreme heat and
Big
high
time.
humidity events like this. Some common sense things. Just to remind you, drink plenty of fluids if you can. Stay indoors, air conditioning. Stay out of the sun. Check on your older relatives, neighbors, that
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
stuff.
Pets.
And pets. Don't forget about your pets and young children. Never leave them alone in vehicles because it can heat up really quick in there.
You got it.
So just a real quick reminder and shout out on that. I want to talk about this story here, little crime news.
Oh,
And we got a picture Adrian can throw up there. This was a reader submitted picture, not my photo. Quality's not the best. It's actually a still from a video clip of a young man being arrested after being tased, Jen.
oh my God! In Jackson?
In Jackson. So this is on the corner of South and Broadway, right across the street from the Jackson City Library is where this is taking place. And
Good grief.
this happened on Tuesday.
Okay.
I was finally able to get the report, and I had the opportunity to finally finish that up this morning. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of details here. It's a Jackson man who had multiple active warrants for his arrest, fled from police in Jackson on Tuesday, June 17th, and he was ultimately taken into custody after receiving a shock that incapacitated him.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so in the picture there, being taken into custody, that is Jordan T. Stover, 29 of Jackson. And as I said, he had multiple warrants. There was some through the Jackson Police Department as well as the Jackson County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And so what happened was JPD, which I'm going to have to fix this because I have JDP. That's what you get when you write stuff early in the morning. But JPD, they were patrolling on East Main Street in Jackson on Tuesday. And the officer observed a male and a female walking near Monroe Collision around 9:05 a.m. on
Okay.
Tuesday morning. The officer recognized the male individual as Stover
Okay.
from previous encounters. They had them check the records and found out that he did have active warrants for his arrest. Well, the officer flipped around so he could make contact with Stover, but initially was unable to locate him. A short time later, the officer observed Stover and the female, later identified as Maria L. Blackburn, 23, of Jackson, walking on Gay Street near Dollar General there. So on South Street, Gay Street, that Dollar General.
Yep.
And the officer approached and he instructed Stover to, hang tight, at which point he reportedly continued walking away from the officer.
Oh, not a good idea.
He said, what for? Please don't. There was some other language used, and then Stover fled on foot. Okay, and the officer pursued him on foot while running. The officer took out his taser, announced taser, deployed it. However, only one of the probes hit Stover, and he continued running despite officer commands. Okay. The officer informed him he had the active warrant, ordered him to stop, but he ended up losing visual of Stover near Jackson Meats there on Gay Street. Okay. And he was running towards the Center Street area. Blackburn had also reportedly fled. Shortly after, though, another officer reported seeing Blackburn running on Center Street towards Gay Street, and they were able to intercept and detain her near Jackson Meats. Okay. And, I guess they took her into custody, and, she was yelling for Stover to keep running, which he did. And, anyway, they took Blackburn to a holding cell there at JPD, and they continued to search for Stover. And then later in the day, this was like 2:00 in the afternoon, dispatch received a 911 call from a female resident on Dickerson Street, and the caller reported a male exiting her backyard wearing a blue shirt. He was dirty, grass stained with jeans, and he only had one shoe on. And the male was last seen walking on South Street. So they, went to patrol the area, located him, and that's when, the picture that we showed there at the start, there on the area of Broadway and South Streets, is when he started to, he fled on foot again. The officer got out of the vehicle, got the taser out again, but this time he hit both of the, both points of contact, took him down.
Ooh, God, that would be awful.
Yeah, and incapacitated him, was able to take him into custody there, as you saw in the picture. The Jackson County EMS responded to help remove the taser probes and provided wound care, and then he was transported to a holding cell. Now, Blackburn, when they had her over at the police station, they examined her personal property, collected in the search. There was suspected drug paraphernalia, including several baggies of powder residue, a cut straw inside a clear plastic container, and upon further inspection of the container, there was an additional baggie containing a gray powdered substance. And those items will be tested, by the proper means. Blackburn was released, but they advised her that she could have an indictment forthcoming based on the results of the testing. Okay, and she also said that she wasn't sure what the items were and claimed that Stover had gave them to her before he fled the first time.
Well, this is a mess.
Yeah, and so anyway, Stover, was served 2 additional charges for resisting arrest from the chase incident on Tuesday. He was served a copy of his warrant from JPD, which was a probation violation on an original charge of obstruction from 2019. Stover was transported to Holston Medical Center to be medically cleared, which he was. Then he was taken to the Jackson County Jail, where he was booked and served the other warrant from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, which was a felony for burglary, breaking and entering, and theft from September of last year. And additionally, when I was in there looking, I found he had another felony charge for possession of fentanyl-related compound and aggravated possession of drugs, meth, from December of 2024.
Alrighty then.
So I know that was a mouthful, but that happened on Tuesday.
Bottom line is, don't walk through town if you got active warrants.
Yeah, you may be recognized. But he did appear for his arraignment in both the Jackson County Municipal Court and the Jackson County Common Police Court on the same day, which was Wednesday, June 18th. He was ordered to be on house arrest with GPS ankle monitor and to enter inpatient treatment at Phoenix Center. Stover must follow conditions of the court. Bond was on recognizance, and his next court date in the Muni Court is July 8th, and a court date in Common Pleas wasn't available. So,
Okay.
yeah, anyhow.
Woo.
Yeah. Wanted to talk about 4th of July because we're just like a week and a half out.
I know.
Believe
it's
it or
like,
not.
Can you
It's
believe
coming.
that?
So here's a file photo I pulled that I took last year from inside
Pretty.
Jackson's Manpower Park, looking back towards Eddie Jones Park there. This was towards the grand finale. I thought it was a really neat shot.
That's a pretty shot, yeah.
Just figured we'd put that up while I talk about the different, what I've learned so far about fireworks.
Okay.
Still working on getting everything, but I can tell you that Jackson's, it's going to be the 2025 Freedom Fest is what they're calling it this year, okay? And it's scheduled for, it would be Thursday, July 3rd, and fireworks will be that evening.
Okay.
And I spoke with Stephen Moore, who's the president of the Jackson Firefighters Association. You know, we always dealt with Dave Channel in years past, but as we know, Dave retired earlier this year, and he's not involved with the fire department or the association. And so I had to make some new contacts. Some different people were involved this year. So talked to Mr. Moore, and he told us that $11,000 will be spent on fireworks this year, and the show should be somewhere between 12-15 minutes. And the American Fireworks Company will be setting those off. He did mention that they're still a little short on that $11,000 goal.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested in donating funds towards that, get a hold of the Jackson Firefighters Association. He said that in years past, it had always been like a $10,000 show, but it was like $11,000 show this year because, as we know, everything has gone up.
Yep.
And so they're hoping. He said if they, the community or businesses or whoever weren't able to donate, they would take some funds from their pocket there at the association to fill up the difference.
Okay.
And they so this year the Jackson Firefighters Association is working along with the Jackson City Rec Department and the Jackson Sidewalk Market.
Yes.
Because as we know, July 3rd will be the first Thursday in July, and that's when the Jackson Sidewalk Market happens. So they will be bringing some of those vendors down to the park, and talked to the folks over at the Jackson Sidewalk Market, and they said starting at 4 p.m. Bring the kids down to Manpower Park for fun-filled activities sponsored by Apple Tots and Faith and Fitness Studio.
Fun.
It says there will be delicious treats from food trucks in the park, and you can check out, the different restaurants that are downtown on that day. It says explore a variety of market vendors set up at Manpower Park, along with downtown Main Street, beginning at 6 p.m. And the parade will kick off at 8 p.m. And as it always does, it will travel up Broadway. It'll make that right on Main Street, and it will conclude down at Manpower Park. Mr. Moore wanted me to remind everybody that anybody can show up and participate in the parade. And he said no throwing of candy during the parade. You can pass it out.
Safe. Yeah.
You can pass it out to
You
people.
can hand it to
You
people.
can hand it to people, but no throwing
Yeah.
because he doesn't want kids running out into the street to try to get the candy.
Yeah, it's not about getting hit by the candy. It's about a child
Yes.
running out in front of a moving vehicle.
Right. And then, the grand finale on July 3rd will be the fireworks show. And he was estimating 9:45 to 10 p.m. watch on that. And then, as always, they're shot there from Eddie Jones Park. So, and don't forget, the next day, the Freedom Fest 5K by the Jackson Area Chamber of Commerce. That happens on Friday, July 4th at 9 a.m. at Manpower Park in Jackson. And the check-in for that starts at 8 a.m. If you register early, it's $30. Late registration is $35. Shirts while supplies last, and medals for the top finishers. Awesome. So that's kind of all your Jackson kind of wrapped up there. I'm supposed to be getting more details involving what kind of activities and food trucks and that kind of stuff down in the park. So They're supposed to get me that on Monday, so hopefully I can get all that written in an upcoming edition of the Telegram. Down in the Oak Hill, the 2025 Oak Hill Athletic Boosters 4th of July celebration is scheduled for July 3rd and 4th. The parade will be held on July 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Fireworks will be the evening of July 4th. They're always like at dark down there, so probably that same time frame, around 9:45, 10 o'clock, I would guess. Tammy McCain, who is kind of the president of the Athletic Boosters, told us that $13,000 will be spent on the fireworks this year. She wasn't sure on the length, but noted they're usually a little under 15 minutes in length. And author Rozzy Pyrotechnics and Queen City Pyro will be setting them off this year. They haven't put their schedule out yet, but I've been on Tammy. And if you're watching this, I'm still waiting for that schedule. So she usually will get
on it, Tammy.
Yes, I'm sure she has it. She told me she has it. She just hasn't released it yet. So
Gotcha.
Hopefully she'll release maybe that today or over the weekend because I need that to be able to write the Oak Hill story.
Sure.
Over in Wellston, your 2025 Celebration of Our Nation, presented by the Wellston Hilka Society, is scheduled for Saturday, July 5th.
That's always a big one, too.
And fireworks that will be that evening. And Aaron Dupree, who's the president of the Wellston Hilka Society, told us that he believes that around $15,500 was being spent on fireworks this year.
Okay.
American Fireworks Company would be setting them off. The exact length of the fireworks would be around 20 minutes, 20-minute show. They have put out a schedule of events. They're going to be having an opening ceremony featuring a hometown hero. I think it's at 4 o'clock that afternoon. There will be inflatables open free of charge for the kids. That's also at 4. And then they will have other activities such as Patriot Games, dessert contest, ice cream eating contest, Stars and Stripes auction, baby contest. They'll also have a parade at 6:30 p.m. that evening. This is they've got a band on the schedule, but it's to be announced. They're going to be having a independence party.
Fun.
That evening.
Independence. I love it.
Independence party at 8:30 p.m. And then that auction and drawing and stuff will close that 8 o'clock hour. And then I got to get you full details on this. I know they have some details up on the page, and they haven't announced who the hometown hero is.
Okay.
That was something that they started doing. I think last year was the first year that the Wellston Hilka Society had taken over Celebration of Our Nation. It used to be Wellston Main Street.
Yeah.
If you remember, they had it for several years and decided to put that. The Hilco Society decided to take that over from them because I guess there was a bunch of different things happening there. But they're saying Celebration of Our Nation fireworks at 10 p.m.
Okay.
on July 5th. So July 3rd, Jackson fireworks. July 4th, Oak Hill fireworks. July 5th will be Wellston fireworks. And then I'm sure Vinton County.
You can do all kind of fireworks.
Yeah, and then Pete's probably talked about Vinton County. So theirs is probably Saturday if I'm my betting man.
Okay.
I think he's talked to. Has he been in to talk about it? He hasn't. Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I know they put out information. I think we've had information in the paper about it.
Okay.
So, real quick, I wanted to touch on real quick picture. There was a proclamation at a Jackson County Commissioner meeting that I filled in and covered. The Jackson County Commissioners, they had recognized June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And there's your Jackson County Commissioners from the left seated. That's John Hensler, Donnie Willis, and Paul Hauer. And in the back, that's some people. You have, I can't think of her name. Tammy Osborne-Smith from Job and Family, along with some of her staff there. I don't have their names immediately available here, but wanted to mention that they did have that proclamation that recognized that. And we'll have that in a future edition of the Telegram with a little more information about elder abuse.
Okay.
So
Sounds like a thing. She
Yes.
actually mentioned that when she was in here the other day.
Yeah.
We talked about some of that. So
And don't forget, Jackson County School Board meets 6 o'clock tonight. Not normal meeting time. Usually it's held on a Tuesday. It's like the second Tuesday of the month, but it got moved back because of summer, I guess. They usually have a later meeting in June. So,
Makes sense.
But it's happening tonight at 6 o'clock at the Jackson High School, room 110.
Okay.
So I will be there to cover that tonight.
very good. Well, thank you, Jeremiah.
Yes. Yep.
We appreciate
Oh,
that.
and I wanted to mention, I know I'm way out of my time here. I started doing my podcast again, Jen. A Minute of News with Jeremiah Shaver. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find it on thetelegramnews.com.
Okay.
And it's just real quick podcast. Do it once a week on Fridays. I usually try to hit just 3 stories that I've covered or something that I think is important, and kind of go over the details of that if you may have missed it.
Interesting.
So, this episode, it's already out. Put it out this morning. Features, we talked about just the thing about the heat advisory going on until Wednesday. World's largest acorn, and the kayak launch out at Hammertown. So
Cool.
you can go on and listen to a little more details on that. So,
Sounds good.
yeah.
All right. Well, have a great weekend.
Yes.
All righty.
I hope I don't have to cover anything this weekend. So hopefully it'll be a nice, quiet weekend. Yes.
All right. Well, have a great weekend, everyone. Do remember that heat advisory is starting to be in effect, and next week's going to be a dilly. So make plans for that, and we will see you back here on Monday. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.